Hello, I'm Ian Blunt, and this is my research pitch for having more research regarding enhancing urban resilience with urban green spaces and green infrastructure. So my original research paper was about how green spaces and green infrastructure can help mitigate urban flooding. However, I wanted my story map to incorporate more of a general approach and include all environmental hazards. So this really begins with worldwide urbanization. So as rural living becomes less ideal, we're seeing a lot of civilizations shift towards urban cities. And with this, you're going to have a lot of the natural landscape being covered with artificial materials such as concrete, glass, and metal. And with this, we're going to have less like grassy plains and biodiverse ecosystems, and we're going to have more mega cities that support immense populations. So here's an example. Here's just a list of some of the most populated cities in the world. First, we have Tokyo, Japan, with a population of 37 million and an urbanization rate of 92%. And urbanization rate just means the amount of land there that is urbanized. So 92% of the land in Tokyo is urbanized. Next, we have Delhi, India, Shanghai, China, Dhaka, Bangladesh, Cairo, Egypt, and last but not least, Sao Paulo, Brazil. So in our current society, especially in the US, we tend to use technology to control natural systems rather than work with natural systems. And as a result, we have instances like this where the one of the levees in New Orleans that failed during Hurricane Katrina. And this just really shows that as urban cities expand and natural systems change with climate change, our urban cities are going to become more vulnerable to environmental hazards. So some of the drawbacks of urbanization that we're going to see is less natural landscapes and vegetation, and this is really bad. This isn't good as these help manage factors like heat, precipitation, and air quality. So as you can see here, we have a skyline of Shanghai, China, and you can see the air quality is not the best. And with this reduction in vegetation, we're going to see a lot of habitats of wildlife being lost, and this is going to drive populations towards extinction as well as force members of the population to start foraging within our cities. So this, for example, this here is a coyote that's foraging in downtown Boston, and this is really creates a public health hazard. And finally, this is a picture that we're very familiar with here in Miami. This is flooding in Miami. And as you see here, there's not a lot of green spaces around, and this is all likely going to be paved over. So there's not a lot of area for the rainwater to infiltrate into the ground. So this is a chart from my original research paper, and it was ties to the main point of my research paper, urban flooding. So this just shows how no matter how much rain you're going to have within an urban area, the majority of the rain is going to turn into impervious area runoff. And it just really shows the importance of urban green spaces and ecosystem services that allow water to go about its natural cycle. Because the more urban runoff you're going to have, this directly correlates to urban flooding hazards. So some of the benefits of urban green spaces and green infrastructure include they they really just help reestablish the natural systems that were already in place that are now lost within the community. So things like parks, gardens, and bodies of water, really going to help protect urban areas from environmental hazards, especially those flooding. And this is because they act as sinks and storage for rainwater runoff within climates of like high precipitation. So I wanted to show how trees actually can benefit an urban area like cities and suburbs. So the canopy of the trees participate in rainfall interception, lowering the amount of rainfall that hits the ground, directly lowering runoff. And then they're also going to have CO2 uptake, evapotranspiration cooling, as well as soil uptake and just all around a reduction in runoff. And this really helps build resilience within cities. And one of the main ways in which cities can build resilience is by incorporating green infrastructure. So green infrastructure is just a combination of natural and semi-natural elements that can substitute ecosystem services. And some of the most common applications of this include pervious pavement, which is just space in between artificial material like bricks or asphalt that allow water to infiltrate the ground. We have green roofs, bioswales, and rain gardens, and these all kind of are similar in that they collect water, they only differ in how they use it and how they disperse of it. Finally, there are going to be some limitations to the extent in which cities can incorporate green spaces and green infrastructure. So, for example, older cities with like more highly compact buildings, they're gonna have a lot harder time incorporating like things like parks and gardens, as they're not gonna have enough space and they're likely not gonna tear down buildings just to build a park. However, so they're more likely to use green infrastructure methods. However, younger cities that still have like urban sprawl characteristics and that are still growing are going to be more capable of adding this green infrastructure and urban green space initiatives into their community development plans. Also, the monetary cost of developing and maintaining these green spaces and green infrastructure is going to be a challenge for poor communities that want to build resilience. However, there are going to be more cost-effective and attainable applications of urban green spaces and green infrastructure strategies, such as just simply planting trees. And I wanted to show an example of one of these highly compacted cities. So this is Dhaka, Bangladesh, one of the most populated cities I showed earlier. And as you can see, they're likely not going to have a lot of space at street level to have like parks and gardens. So they're likely going to resort to green infrastructure, such as like green roofs. And as you can see here, there's some examples of that already going on. On the other hand, we have areas like the city of Singapore, and they've really gone above and beyond of like incorporating and prioritizing the interconnectedness of society with the environment. And as a result, they do have a very socially and environmentally resilient urban landscape. So to tie it all together, I think there should be more research regarding urban greening and incorporating green infrastructure into our communities, as this is going to allow urban managers to have more access to technologies and methods that they can pick and choose that are best optimized for their urban environments. Thank you.